السودانية في الولايات المتحدة والسودانيين في كل مكان في الاحتفاء بهذا الإنجاز المشرف الذي أظهر للعالم جانبا مشرقا من موروثنا الحضاري وثقافاتنا المتنوعة المتميزة. ونحيي في هذه المناسبة الجالية والجاليات السودانية في الولايات المتحدة للجهود الكبيرة وللإسهام الكبير اللي قاموا به في ثورة 19 ديسمبر المجيدة، واللي قاموا به مؤخرا وحديثا وما زالوا يقومون به في الدعم الكبير في إطار رفع اسم السودان من قائمة الإرهاب واستعادة السودان لحصانته السيادية. وهذا عمل متواصل، وكذلك الجاليات تعمل عملا دؤوبا من أجل دعم السودان، ورأينا كيف أنه ساهمت في مكافحة كوفيد 19 وإرسال الأدوية والأجهزة والمعدات المطلوبة، وكيف ساهمت كذلك في كارثة الفيضانات التي تعرضت لها أجزاء كبيرة من بلادنا. فالتحية للجاليات والتحية للسودانيين في الولايات المتحدة. في هذه المناسبة الكريمة أود أن أحيي السودان فيلم فاكتوري لرعايته لهذا العمل الكبير، والشابين المبدعين المخرج هاشم حسن والمنتج ممدوح عبد المنعم صالح. كما نحيي فريق العمل المصاحب والممثلين بحصول فيلم حفنه التمر على الجائزة الدولية مسابقة الأفلام القصيرة The Best Short Film Competition، وتكريم الفيلم كذلك بجائزة البوابة الفضية من مهرجان البوابة الرقمية الدولي للأفلام بالجزائر. وكذلك نهنئهم على ترشيح الفيلم لجائزة أفضل فيلم قصير Best Short Film في مهرجان بان أفريكان السينمائي بان أفريكان فيلم فيستيفال في لوس أنجلوس. نشيد بهذا الإنجاز الضخم الذي يمثل نقلة نوعية في مجال صناعة الأفلام في السودان، ونحن فخورون بحصول حفنة التمر على هذه الجوائز العالمية والإقليمية، وأن نرى هذا العمل الشبابي المتفرد وهو ينفذ إلى معترك التنافس في المجال السينمائي العالمي والإقليمي، وهو أمر يدعو للفخر لنا جميعا جميع السودانيين في كافة أنحاء العالم، وهو بمثابة تتويج للعمل المثمر والخلاق الذي قام به ويقوم به السينمائيون السودانيون منذ أربعينيات القرن الماضي. ولا بد أن نشير في هذا السياق إلى النجاح الكبير الذي يجده فيلم سوداني متميز آخر، ألا وهو فيلم ستموت في العشرين، الذي رشح لقائمة الأفلام القصيرة جائزة الأوسكار التي تنعقد في شهر أبريل القادم. كما نشير إلى التقدير الدولي والإقليمي الذي يجده مخضرمو جماعة الفيلم السوداني الذين واجهوا على مدى سنين طويلة العديد من التحديات في ظروف في غاية الصعوبة والتعقيد، وها هم يرون غرسهم الذي غرسوه بالدموع والتضحيات قد بدأ يأتي أكله. ولا أنسى أن أشير إلى أن هذا العمل يجسد التكامل الخلاق بين جيل أستاذنا الكبير المرحوم الطيب صالح عبقري الرواية العربية وبين جيل هاشم وممدوح ورفاقهم، مما يبشر بأن شعلة التميز والخلق والإبداع ستظل متقدة في عقول السودانيين وأفئدتهم على مر الأجيال ومع تبدل الظروف والأحوال. وأؤكد أننا وهنا نترحم على روح أستاذنا الكبير الطيب صالح، وقد كان لي شرف أن ألتقي به لأول مرة مع صديقي السفير عوض محمد الحسن في داره العامرة في ويبلدون عام 1972 عندما كنت أعد للدكتوراه في باريس، وتطرقت لعمله في تلك الدكتوراه. وأؤكد ومعكم الآن في كالفورنيا صديقي السفير الفاتح إبراهيم حمد، ولعله عاد إلى نيويورك في هذه الأيام، وهو الذي صديق شخصي للمرحوم كذلك الطيب صالح، وقد حل مكانه في الدوحة كممثل لليونسكو بعد ذلك. وأود أن أؤكد أننا في السفارة السودانية في واشنطن سنعمل بالتعاون مع الجاليات المختلفة على رعاية وتشجيع المبدعين والمبتكرين من الشباب والشابات، وسنتشاور مع مجالس الجاليات السودانية المختلفة حول الكيفية التي يمكن عن طريقها أن ندعم سويا مثل هذه المبادرات. في الختام أجدد لكم التهنئة بهذا النجاح المتميز، متمينا لشبابنا المزيد من العطاء والإبداع، ونحن على استعداد دائما لدعمهم إن شاء الله، مع الشكر والتقدير مرة أخرى لجالية شمال كالفورنيا، مع أمنياتي للجميع بدوام الصحة والعافية في هذه الأوقات العصيبة التي نعيشها هذه الأيام. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، وشكرا جزيلا.
شكرا لك سعادة السفير، كلمة جميلة جدا، وكتر خيرك على الإشادة بهذين الشابين وإدراكك لحجم أهمية الفن. والآن ننتقل إن شاء الله للأستاذة، وأيضا لا يفوتني أن أرحب ببقية أعضاء السفارة اللي هم الآن جزء من هذا الاجتماع اليوم. الأستاذة سعدية الخليفة في كلمة قصيرة. تفضل أستاذة سعدية. طيب يا جماعة، معلش أستاذة سعدية احتمال تكون غير موجودة الآن.
موجودة يا محمد، سعدية موجودة، بس المفروض تعمل ميوت لنفسها،
بس لأنه ما شايف اسمها مكتوب يعني.
اسمها موجود سعدية الخليفة.
طيب خلينا نشوف إذا ممكن. طيب يا أستاذ سعدية، أنا طلبت منك تو ميوت، فحجيك المسج في التليفون أو الجهاز، you can just click on it. عملت لك request to unmute. أستاذ سعدية الخليفة. طيب في الفترة دي ممكن إن شاء الله نرجع للأستاذ سعدية ليتر إن شاء الله لاحقا. ندي فرصة للأبناء ممدوح و هاشم إنه يقدموا نفسهم ويعرفونا بنفسهم وب their qualification and their experience إن شاء الله. Thank you. Go ahead Hashim and Mamdouh.
Yes, thank you for the introduction. Thank you to Ustaz Muhammad Shomo and Safir, His Excellency Nuruddin Asati. We're very pleased to be here with you all, talking about our experience and the making of this film, which we're very proud of. As you know, my name is Hashim. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Okay.
أخش أنا؟ ألو؟
اتفضل يا أستاذ سعدية، اتفضل يا أي.
السلام عليكم يا جماعة، والله متأسفة للخلل الفني، ومتأسفة جدا جدا يا سعادة السفير إنه فاتتني كلمتك اللي كنت يعني متوقعة أسمعها. شكرا لك للحضور، شكرا لجميع الحضور، شكرا لهاشم، وأسفة جدا للمقاطعة. لكن يعني أحب في بداية كلامي إنه أترحم على روح الدكتور محمد صالح، والد الشاب المبدع هاشم محمد صالح، وهو بخلاف إنه صديق شخصي بالنسبة لنا في الأسرة، كان عمود من أعمدة هذا المجتمع، كان مكون ومؤسس حقيقي لمنبر كالفورنيا، وكان مؤسس لهذه الجالية، وكان رقما صعبا في المجتمع الأمريكي بصفته عالما ومحاضرا في أكبر الجامعات. وبفتكر إنه بفقده فقدنا عمودا في هذه الجالية، وفقدنا إنسانا له على خلق وأخلاق. ورغم كل شيء أنا بيدي الآن كتابين ألفهما في عام 2014، واحد اسمه رسائل من النيل، انقلابات العسكر في السودان ولعنة الإخوان، وكتاب آخر اسمه أطروحة مغترب سوداني. أحب أقرأ لكم المقدمة الإهداء في هذا الكتاب لأنه يتعلق بالابن هاشم. قال: أهدي هذا الكتاب إلى ولدي هاشم، ذلك الابن العنيد الذي أردت له بعد أن تخرج من جامعة كالفورنيا في مدينة سانتا باربرا أن يدرس المحاماة الدولية، ولكن كان له رأي آخر، فأراد أن يتنافس بالدخول في كلية الفنون الجميلة التابعة لمعهد السينما الأمريكية في هوليوود جوار لوس أنجلوس، وقد تم له ما أراد ودرس فيه 3 سنوات، وحصل بعدها على الماجستير في فن الإخراج السينمائي، وكان ذلك في عام 2010، وحتى اليوم لم يجد عملا في مجاله كغيره من آلاف خريجي الجامعات الأمريكية. ونحن الآن في عام 2014، لكنه قبل شهرين قرر الذهاب وعمل تصوير لبداية فيلم عن قرية الطيب صالح التي كتب عنها في كتابه حفنه من تمر، وقد ذهب إلى هناك وصور مشاهد القرية، ويقوم الآن بتحضير سيناريو إنتاج الفيلم، وأتمنى له التوفيق. إنه فنان مرهف، وقد رأيت أن إهداء هذا الكتاب له هو أمر مناسب، لأن الشاعر أيضا فنان مرهف. دكتور محمد صالح كان شاعرا. أنا بعتقد إنه روح هذا الإنسان يا هاشم معك ومعي ومع إنجي ومع الشفيع ومع فاطمة ومع كل الكوميونتي السودانية، ومع هذا الحضور الكريم، ومع هذا السفير الذي تشرفنا بحضوره لهذه المناسبة. أعتقد أن هذا الإهداء يوصف حالة إنه روح والدك الآن تتم حولنا. شكرا جزيلا. شكرا جزيلا.
شكرا أستاذة سعدية على الكلمة، يعني it was very touching، يعني كتر خيرك، وكانت إهداء خاص لهاشم.
أيوة.
وشكرا هاشم وشكرا ممدوح طبعا لأنكم يعني عملتوا هذا الفيلم من العدم. ووالد هاشم كان رجل يعني وطني غيور، يعني لا تصفه الكلمات. كان صاحب مواقف قوية، وهذا الشبل طبعا كما نقول من ذاك الأسد يعني. وأنا أرجع يا أستاذ سعدي، عاوز تقولي حاجة؟
عايزة أقول إنه عنده كتاب آخر تحت الطبع اسمه الأصولية في الأديان.
نعم.
فالرقم بهذا الشكل في هذه الليلة يجب أن تكون ذكراه ملازمة حتى نهاية هذا الحدث. أحب أيضا أضيف شكري للأستاذ عبد المنعم والد منتج الفيلم ممدوح، فقد كان دائما أيضا مثابرا، حتى ليلة البارحة كان يتحدث في هذا الأمر. أنا بفتكر إنه نحن كل شبلين هنا كان لهما أسدان أبوان. تحية لكم كلكم، تحية لك يا سمو لكل الحضور.
شكرا لكم، كتر خيرك أستاذ سعدي. Hashim, now the microphone is back with you, so you will pick up from wherever you left off. Yes.
Yeah, شكرا جزيلا يا أستاذة سعدية. And thank you for the word. معلش بتكلم بالإنجليزي عشان عربي لسه تعبان شوية. لكن thank you for the words. يا أستاذة سعدية, you have always been very close to our family, and my dad was always very fond of you, and we always appreciated your support throughout this process. And my father was always very encouraging of us pursuing this project and this story from Tayyip Saleh, and we remember him every day for that. So thank you for those words, and thank you for all the other words. We really appreciate it. As I was saying, and as Ustaza mentioned, I started my journey with, I guess, this project back in UC Santa Barbara. I did my undergraduate degree there, where I studied Middle East Studies, and that's where I was first introduced to Tayyip Saleh with Mosam al-Hijra ila Shimal, which is a book that I fell in love with after I first read it. I also met Mamdouh at UC Santa Barbara as well, and we started our collaboration and our what would become our professional relationship. That continued when we moved to LA. Mamdouh was there first and I joined him later. I went to the American University, or the American Film Institute there, where I studied directing. And during that time, I was also working very closely with Mamdouh on a variety of different projects. So we were gaining experience throughout that time that we were in LA. And after that, after film school, I decided to pursue this project along with Mamdouh in Sudan, adapting Tayyip Saleh's حفنه into a short film. Initially, we had only thought it would take, a few years. It ended up taking a little longer, but it was a very valuable journey for both of us. And since then, I've focused on local productions here in Fresno. I'm based in Fresno, California, and doing videography for local businesses and freelancing, essentially. Yeah, that's just a little bit about myself.
السلام عليكم. ممدوح عبد المنعم صالح، وأنا المنتج للفيلم حفنه تمر. طيب صالح، سعيدين جدا بوجودنا هنا. أولا الشكر الجزيل لسعادة السفير نور الدين ساتي للكلمة الجميلة المشجعة، ووجودك معنا هنا شرف كبير بالنسبة لنا، ونحن سعيدين جدا جدا بأنه نحن وصلنا المرحلة دي. وشكرا لك وشكرا لوجودك هنا معنا. شكرا محمد شمو للهوستنج وللبرنامج بتاعنا ده. شكرا أستاذة سعدية، والشكر الجزيل أيضا للسودانيز Association of North California for putting this event together as well. الشكر الجزيل لكل الحضور المعانا، فشكرا لكم كلكم، ونحن سعيدين جدا جدا بوجودنا هنا معاكم. بالنسبة لي أنا مولود في السودان. معلش أنا كمان هتكلم بالإنجليزي لكن معذرة. I was born in Sudan and I was raised in Los Angeles. And I went to school in UC Santa Barbara with my colleague Hashim. And now I'm based in Arizona and working as a freelance videographer and video producer in the state of Arizona. Very happy to be here, very happy for this event. And yes, thank you.
So Hashim and Mamdouh, I think the question is for you right now. Tell us what inspired you to make this movie? What was your drive mainly? And how did you manage to fund it? Tell us the story behind everything, about your motives, about your inspiration, about your first trip to the village of Tayyip Saleh and so forth.
Okay, excellent. Hashim, I think you can start by saying the very first time that you went to Shamalia and began the process of filming. And we actually have a video that we want to share with everybody. This would be the first video that we made for the project, which is the pre-production video, which we use for our funding campaigns. So I think this would be a good way to start. I think Hashim will introduce the video, tell you guys a little bit about the video, and then we'll watch that video, and then he can tell you about his experience being there, and we'll move on after that.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, as Mamdouh was saying, this was our pre-production video. This was specifically going to be used to help us with the crowdfunding campaign that we were going to do on Kickstarter. And if some of you are familiar with Kickstarter, it's an online crowdfunding website, and they recommend that you have a video there to appeal to your audience. And so we thought it best for me to travel over there and shoot a video in Karmakol, which is Tayyip Saleh's, the region that he's from, and use that to put in the video. Now, this was my first time coming to Sudan after having left in 1990 when I was 5, after the last regime took power. And I hadn't been to Sudan since I was 5 years old. So it was a completely new, exciting experience to both be pursuing this film project and also reconnecting to my roots and, family, friends, and family as well. So that's sort of the context of this pre-production video. And, we can talk about it, after we show it here, but yeah, enjoy.
Okay.
So who is going to share it? Is that Mamdouh or Hashim?
Yes, I am. If you can make it
okay.
up, that'll be great.
Okay, I will do that. Yeah. Sorry, Mamdouh, I'm just trying to do this, and now you are the co-host. Now you are.
Okay. Give it a try.
Do you see it?
Yes, I see it.
Oh, all right, perfect.
الطيب صالح، هذا الأديب هو أحد أشهر الأدباء السودانيين، وقد تلقى تقديرا عالميا حيث أطلق عليه النقاد لقب عبقري الرواية العربية. ترجمت كتاباته إلى 30 لغة، وكان من ضمن أعماله موسم الهجرة إلى الشمال، واحدا من أجمل 100 رواية في العالم. في قصة حفنة التمر نرى في ذكريات الطفولة العابرة نور البراءة قبل أن يندثر إلى الأبد. تدور أحداث القصة في قرية ود حامد، حيث يستغرق الراوي ذكريات طفولية متتالية. الشيء الوحيد الذي فاق حبه لحياة القرية هو تبجيله العميق لجده الذي كان شيخا محترما ومن ملاك الأراضي المرموقين في القرية. ولكن ظاهرة حياة الهناء عنده بدأت تتلاشى عند اكتشافه للتاريخ المضطرب خلف ثروة جده، وأيضا ذلك المزارع البشوش الذي فقد ثروته. من خلال جلب قصة الكاتب الطيب صالح الكلاسيكية إلى الشاشة، فنحن نكرم إرثه كمعلم بارز لتراث السودان الثقافي والأدبي. وعلى الرغم أن أحداث هذه القصة متعلقة بالسودان، إلا أنها تتضمن مواضيع عالمية من حب وفقدان وعطف ويقظة الضمير الإنساني.
An international team of filmmakers are coming together to bring this timeless classic to the screen. Director Hashim Hassan, producer Mamdouh Saleh, and composer Dexter Story hail from Los Angeles. And as we make our way across the Atlantic, Screenwriter and production designer Isra El-Kogali joins the team from London. Rounding out the team in Africa, cinematographer Drew Mungai comes from Nairobi, and production coordinator Muhammad Fawi is in Khartoum.
Okay. Well, that was that video. And then we have a bonus video for everyone. We're going to be showing you the behind the scenes video that we did. So we had
Mamdouh, so before you tell us about the behind the scene video, can
Yes.
you tell about how did you use the first video? How did you guys utilize it and to
Yeah.
do the fundraising, like this footage? Yeah, I think it will be a good.
okay.
Yeah. So this actually was the second video of the campaign, the crowdfunding campaign that we had going. I had shot one initially, and unfortunately our first Kickstarter campaign wasn't successful, but I ended up going back to Sudan and reshot more footage in Nuri. A lot of that footage was from Nuri, which we actually ended up shooting in for the actual film. And so we re-edited the pre-production trailer, and then we repurposed it for our next crowdfunding campaign, which was an Indiegogo film campaign. The other video that you saw at the end with the globe, that was our initial team. Most of those people ended up working on the film later on. A few didn't. For example, our cinematographer ended up being a Sudanese cinematographer, Khalid. But yeah, so that was the pre-production trailer that we used for our Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign. And that was successful. We ended up raising about, what was it, $8,000 for that, which allowed us to start work with pre-production in Sudan. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about fundraising for independent films, when you say independent film, for those that may not be familiar with the term, اللي هي الأفلام المستقلة، okay, أي مستقلة من الstudio system. So here in Hollywood, there's a studio system in which the funding comes from the studios, okay, and then it goes into the films right away, and then they own the distribution of the film as well. So independent films, okay, was a movement that actually came out that was films that are being made outside of the studio system, funded outside of the studio system. Studio meaning in Hollywood, there is about 5 or 6 major studios that produce about, I would say, maybe 70 to 80% of the films, or the high grossing films that you see out in the market. So there is, so like Warner Brothers, Paramount, Disney, okay, et cetera, those are the studio systems. So independent films, when you're making an independent film, usually, you know, you got to know what the audience is, but you want to, a good place to start would be a crowdfunding campaign to get a sense of how people feel about your project and what the audience is. And there's a lot of things that you can understand about a crowdfunding campaign. So we use this video because you still have not shot the film yet. So you need some sort of a video to show what the film is going to be about. So in this case, Hashim actually went all the way to Sudan, shot the video, and came back with some footage that we could use, which worked very well for us. And we were able to use that for our crowdfunding campaigns. And you know, he did mention the first Kickstarter campaign was not successful. Kickstarter, you have to set a goal. If you don't meet the goal, then you don't get any of the money. Right? So we had a pretty big goal for Kickstarter. For Indiegogo, which is another crowdfunding platform, whatever money that you raise, you will get. So we had, so we raised, I think, about a good almost $8,000, which was really nice for crowdfunding a short film and here in America. Another thing to point out is that we could not get funding from Sudan through the crowdfunding campaigns because of not being able to do business with Sudan, not being able to transact money with Sudan. So people in Sudan could not just go into the website and put money into your campaign. So all of that money actually came from the United States, people in America, as well as a little bit of people in Europe, which is a big deal because it means that there is actually an audience for these types of films outside of Sudan in an international market. So yes, that's that with the crowdfunding.
Great. So tell us about the behind the footage scene. How did you guys pick the team that worked with you? And I know you started with an international team, someone in London, someone in Kenya, and probably you adjusted along the way. Tell us, how do you pick up your crew, and how did you were able to be successful in managing them with such a low budget as well?
Yeah, so we took we took quite a few trips to Sudan, and we had a few contacts that would recommend people to work with. One of those major players is Talal Afifi at the Sudan Film Factory. He connected us to a number of people that we ended up working with. Specifically in terms of the camera crew, I heard about, or actually initially, as we mentioned, it was a cinematographer that I went to film school with, Drew Mungai, who I was wanting to work with for some time. That was our initial choice for cinematographer. And that's basically the person who's in charge of telling the story through pictures and lighting. So he's like the main, he's the main collaborator in terms of getting the picture and the lighting and telling a story through those elements. So I was very excited about working with Drew. Unfortunately, Drew was a little bit beyond our budget, what we could afford at that time. And so we had to look at a local film crew in Sudan. And I started asking around in the small sort of film art community. And a lot of people were recommending Khalid Awad, who at that point had been mostly focusing on high-end wedding videos, and he has a production company. I think it's still there. It was called Highlight Productions, and so he was mainly focusing on high-end wedding videos for high-paying clientele in Khartoum. So, but he had a great eye for images. I mean, his lighting and his compositions were amazing. So he was the person that eventually we ended up working with as our cinematographer. And he had a crew that he worked with on his shoots. And so we ended up working with them on our film. One of those people was a young man named Muhammad, what's his last name? I forgot. But we used to call him Kuti. Sorry? As-Sammani, yes, Muhammad As-Sammani. So he was our behind the scenes videographer. He was part of Khalid's crew. And so he was just along for the ride. And he was basically filming us behind the scenes as we were making this film. Unfortunately, about halfway or 2/3 in the production, he got a little sick, so he couldn't finish the shooting. But luckily it wasn't anything serious. But yeah, so that's the background of this behind the scenes video that we shot.
Having a behind the scenes video and behind the scenes photography is really important for the marketing of the film. So it comes in really handy when you're putting together a press kit or a press release or anything that shows people in the production behind the scenes is actually really good material for marketing the film later on. for many reasons. You can always pull out behind the scenes material and use them for marketing material. So we had somebody specifically for that, Muhammad Samani, and we have a lot of pictures. If you go onto the website, ahandfulofdatesfilm.com, you can see a lot of pictures, a lot of behind the scenes pictures, and as well as this video. We had a lot of footage. I managed to put together about 10 minutes, I think, but it goes by pretty fast. It's very nice. It's gonna take you into the production and give you guys an intimate look at the behind the scenes. So I guess we can start to watch it.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah, good sound.
All right, sound is rolling and roll camera
Camera is roll.
and action.
of the behind the scenes. She's taking care of what people are eating. Nescafe, ketchup, kebab shai. Some behind the scenes. This is there's Wala.
Making amazing.
We say بالسوداني عايش الدور.
لا والسماعة دي شنو؟
جابك شنو مالك ما مشيت البيت؟
انا جيت اساعدك في حشتهم.
خلاص بعدين حتمشوا كامل يعني شنو؟
حتمشوا ما في جامع.
خذوا وقتكم. There's like a space there. Let them walk. No, there's like an awkward silence. Let them walk. Don't make sure he knows that he's gonna give him time. Let them walk a few steps, right? Yeah, let it linger. ممتاز يا أميرة. The extraordinary Eddie. نوم؟ الست أيام الجاية ما أظن في نوم.
مريد
Nice. So this must be bringing like amazing memories to you guys.
Yeah, definitely. I hadn't seen it in a while, so it was definitely very nostalgic for me watching that.
So before we go into the movie itself and the film and just showing it and sharing it with everyone, who are the sponsors actually in the last part of the movie, right? The last clip of the footage that you just showed, there were too many sponsors. How were you able to bring them along, and how did you help? How did they help fund your project itself?
Yeah.
Yes, sure. I can start with that. So the money that we raised from the crowdfunding efforts was enough for us to go to Sudan and begin pre-production. Okay, pre-production is when you bring together the cast and the crew and everything that you need to put together before you start the shooting of the film, the filming of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So يعني كل التجهيزات زي ما بيقولوا. what at the same time we were raising money to continue shooting the film. Okay. So we went on a very big funding campaign where we reached out to everyone that we could reach, all the companies that we could in the private sector. Okay, we reached out to nonprofit organizations, we reached out to cultural centers, we reached out to individuals. Okay, we reached out to everybody that we could and telling them about the project and asking for funding.
In the US and in Sudan, or mainly in the US?
No, this is in Sudan at this point.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah, so this is in Sudan. Once we went to Sudan, we started to reach out to everyone there. Most of this funding, it's interesting because most of the funding for the film came from Sudan.
Wow.
Okay, it came from Sudan.
Very interesting.
I'm not sure about other films in Sudan, lakin I'm just gonna say it. I think we managed to raise almost close to $10,000 in Sudan.
Wow.
Okay, and I think this is because we had a pretty good presentation. We had a good project, and I think this is important for the young filmmakers. I mean, we're young filmmakers, but any aspiring filmmakers who are looking into funding, is our advice from our experience is to really consider what the value of the project is going to bring. The project has to bring value, and so our presentation, when we were giving our presentations, it wasn't just like, oh, we have a film, we just want to make a film because we like to make films, and because it's cool to make films. No, this was a social, cultural arts project. Okay, so there was the cultural impact of the film, which came from the content of the film. Okay, Tayyib Saleh. Okay, Sudanese literature. Okay, the film, it's the story itself, okay, lends itself to a lot of discussion points about the culture, about the tradition, about the history, about the heritage of Sudan. And so in that way, as a social project, we can take this project as a platform and we can engage in cultural exchange, right? Creative cultural exchange with an international audience that may not know about the culture of Sudan. They may not know anything about Sudan, but now that there is a film, okay, this is an opportunity to talk about it, to engage in it. And sure enough, that's what we've been capturing with the project. At the Pan-African Film Festival and the African Motion Festival. The Pan-African Film Festival was in Los Angeles, and it was in front of an American audience. And here they are asking us about Sudan, asking us about Tayyip Saleh. And so we're engaging with them in this conversation, right? So this was one of the points we had about this project. This is one thing that can come out of this project. And as a cultural project, again, it's about really bringing together with the writer Tayyip Saleh what the culture of the Sudanese culture can actually bring. As a social project, also, it's good for Sudan because Sudan Film Factory, the main Sudan Film Factory is a company that engages in fostering and improving the capacities of filmmakers in Sudan, as well as producing films. Okay, so this project was also a learning process for everyone that was involved in the process. Okay, so we had workshops that we put together for all of us to learn more about the art of filmmaking. We had discussions, meetings. We had workshops. We were engaging with the Sudan Independent Film Festival. Okay, as the film, we would go as the film, and Hashim, as the director, would talk about what we're doing in the film and use it as an educational platform to help with the capacities of the artists and the filmmakers. And again, a film brings together everybody. You have the producer, the director, you have the sound engineers, you have the production designers, you have the costume designers, you have the writers. There's so many people that come together from different skills and crafts that come together to put a film together. Music, it brings together all of the arts in one. And so when you can engage all of these arts and all of these people, it really creates a platform where you can engage society and artists and to make everything better for the filmmakers. So when we gave our presentation, that's what it was about. We got sponsorships from DAL Cultural Forum was one of our sponsors. The United Capital Bank in Khartoum was one of our sponsors. Al Berberi Company, as well as Hyundai, they're one and the same. They're one of our sponsors. Markaz Al Junaid Al Thaqafi was our cultural sponsor. And I do want to mention Al Ustaza Khalda Al Junaid, which the cultural center was a big part of this film. And they really helped in terms of the film having a cultural center behind it. So that was really big when we gave our presentations, that this was not only a Sudan Film Factory production, but there was an entity like Markaz Al Junaid Al Thaqafi that was behind it. And all of our administrative work, all of the paperwork, all of the signings that had to get signed by an official cultural center. There's a lot of details in terms of how the money was going back and forth. So they really helped us out in that. So we just want to mention Markaz Al Junaid Al Thaqafi and thank you guys so much for all your help.
If I could follow up with just to mention, they pretty much acted as a fiscal sponsor for us to be able to receive money from embassies or banks, for example, because we weren't really an operating entity, right? Mamdouh and I as filmmakers, even with Sudan Film Factory. So Markaz Al Junaid acted as like a fiscal sponsor to take care of these administrative details, as Mamdouh mentioned. So just wanted to, it's the equivalent of if you were to get like a grant, if we were to get a grant here in the US for some documentary we were doing, it helps if you have a fiscal sponsor, a nonprofit to, take care of these administrative details, like getting money and, signing paperwork and whatnot. So.
Thank you. This is really definitely very inspiring, and I think the determination that you guys had is amazing. And I'm reading some of the comments. I'm just glancing it, and someone is saying you really realize what you can get it if you really want it, right? So people are just really applauding the way that you guys thinking about it, and also like I think the one of the point that is where it was striking actually is the global branding. You thought about this not just like as a movie, right? You thought this is a cultural representation. This is even bigger than completing a project and delivering it, right? So I think that is definitely that sense of purpose in you guys is just amazing. And for the sake of the benefit of everyone, and of course I have one last question, probably two questions. One of them is around why Tayyip Saleh and why specifically this story, but probably we can answer that later on after you guys show the video itself, because I want to give the rest of the audience an opportunity to raise their hand and get to ask you as well.
Sure, absolutely. Did you want to, should we run the movie now or?
Yeah, whatever you feel appropriate. If you guys, you want to run it around or just talk about why you picked this story specifically.
Yeah, I mean, just to briefly talk about what the inspiration was. I read Mawsam al-Hijra ila Shimal in university at UC Santa Barbara. I was taking an Arabic literature course, and I really loved the story. I thought, you know, Tayyip Saleh's focus on a conflicted identity, a conflicted Sudanese identity that is kind of torn between these two cultures, right? In Tayyip Saleh's case, it was Britain and his, you know, his sort of fictional village in Shamalia. And I identified with that, I think, as a Sudanese Mexican American, you know, growing up, not feeling completely settled in one particular identity, but having kind of like a fusion identity in many ways. And so that particular element spoke to me, you know, in his work. I also thought a handful of dates specifically focused on issues of capitalism and greed and you know, religious sort of the contradictions in sort of presenting yourself as a religious person, but you know, kind of almost going against sort of the essence of what the religion is calling for, right? By being, you know, motivated by greed or material wealth. So, you know, these ideas were very interesting to me, and I think my father definitely had an influence in sort of in that regard, you know, him being a leftist, and also I think the theme of a cultural and generational gap between you know, an older generation and a younger generation. So these are some of the themes that I thought were very fascinating, and not to mention, you know, just Tayyip Saleh's his prose, the lyrical quality of his prose, and how that complemented cinematic images. I thought that, I mean, so for all those reasons, I thought that it was a great project to adapt, you know, because it was personally, like, I could relate to it, and also just thematically, all these different layers of depth to it. So yeah, that was sort of the inspiration behind why I chose to do it in the first place. And that's when I reached out to Bmabdui to see if he wanted to be a part of it. So
no, this is definitely a very good articulation of reasons, right? I think whatever you said makes a lot of sense. Probably can we, I see a couple of people raise their hands, and if anyone wants to raise their hand to ask a question later, please go ahead and raise your hand now. And if you guys can, please go ahead and show the movie, and then we'll start taking questions from audience as well.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
طمني يا اخوي، كلمت العمده بمشروع الري الجديد؟
وعارف، ومعانا من زمان. زدنا عدد الفدادين كتير، بعد ده ما بكون عندنا مشكلة مع التراب الصغار.
ده كلام سمح والله.
أنا حصل خزلت القبال ده؟
ابدا والله. ما شاء الله.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام والرحمه. ما شاء الله. ام حميد، تاكل شنو اللي عنده؟ ده شنب ولا شنو؟
جبت لنا شنو للغدا يا عم حميد؟
عدس وطماطم وبصل وجرجير.
الليله اشتري الخضار وباقي نفاصل في الاسعار.
كله بوقته ان شاء الله.
كله في لا شوف انت بالله الشوف ولا ردا يطمن، ريتك تبقى طيب انت انا البيت.
يا مزعود، منو سايق منو؟
بس انا سايقه للبطري، باكر هو بيسوقني للحكيمه.
بس بده ماله يتغير كده، هو نفس الموضوع سعود ذات
وماشي نازل.
تشبه بلدها سر في بطن المطامير، تشبه بلدها سر في بطن المطامير، انت شو تشبه بلدها سر في بطن المطامير. سلام. السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
تعال يا ولدي قرب.
يا تغني اللي كنت قاعد تغنيها دي.
الأغنية بتقول زول يحب الشجر زي أولاده، زي أولاده تمام، كل ما حبيته شديد يديك أحسن شي عنده. النخيل يا ولدي، النخيل ده زينا تمام، زينا واحد، يفرح وبيضحك وبيبكي كمان.
جدو ليه بترجع مسعود ده؟
لأنه راجل خامل.
يعني شنو؟ خامل يعني شنو؟
خد البمبر ده هنا. تعال. شايف يا ولدي؟ شايف الأرض دي؟ الأرض الوسيعة دي. شايف الشجر ده؟ شايف النخيل ده؟ ده كله كان حق مسعود. 100 فدان حدادي مدادي جاته باردة ورثة من أبوه. من قبل 40 سنة الخير ده كله كان حق مسعود، لكن الزمن اتغير. هسا تلتينه حقاتي أنا.
هو باع وطاته ليه؟
مسعود راجل بيحب العرس، كل مرة يجي يعرس فيها يبيع لي فدان وفدانين وفي الباقي لي لا من سيد الأمانة يشيل أمانته بشتري التلت المفضل ده. فهمت؟ فهمت؟ يلا جيب البمبر ده وتعال. راح لسه أنا طالبك كتير يا مسعود. نتكلم في الموضوع ده بعدين. يلا حميد تعال يا ولد. ما تجي تعال يا ولد. اتحرك يا ولد. تعال يا ولد. ماشي وين؟ يا ولد ماشي وين؟
Thank you. This is really amazing. It's just amazing how you were able to condense such a story and values in a very short time. It's very impressive.
Thank you.
I actually I would like to mention the screenwriter Isra Al-Kogali. She's the screenwriter of the movie. Hashim had the original idea and he reached out to Isra, and she wrote an amazing screenplay. I mean, it went through a lot of drafts, but she's the original writer of the screenplay itself. And hats off, because it's not easy. It's not an easy task to write a screenplay for a Tayyib Saleh story, especially a short story like this one. So, I mean, the themes and the characters are so complex, and she was really able to really bring that into a screenplay. So, you know, we just want to mention her, and hats off to her. Thank you for that. Hashim, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, Isra was a pleasure to work with, and she kind of built a foundation for the screenplay that we then used to make subsequent drafts. But yeah, we definitely need to mention Isra in all this. She was one of the first people that came on board, and you know, a lot of her work you saw in the movie. So definitely hats off to her.
So I want to give an opportunity to the audience as well. I see some few people actually raising their hands. So let's just start with Yasin. Yasin Mohammed Yasin.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
وعليكم السلام.
شكرا استاذ شومو يعني هذا العمل الكبير الجميل، ودعني يعني انحني الى ابنائنا ممدوح عبد المنعم صالح وهاشم محمد صالح لهذا العمل الكبير. وفي الحقيقة ما عندي الكلمات تعبر عن هذا الموقف غير اقتبس المقولة اللي بتقول الصمت في حرم الجمال، ولكن أهل الشرع بيقولوا برضو لا ينسب لساكت قول. فبين هذا وذاك عندي سؤال مطروح، إنه هذا العمل الكبير قدم أو أنتج بإمكانيات بسيطة وبجهود شخصية من هذين الشابين وفقهم الله. فسؤالي هو إنه العمل هذا تم في آخر أيام احتضار النظام البائد، وقتها كان يتوجس من ظله ومسعورا ومزعورا في نفس الوقت، ولكنه يجفل من صفير الصافر. إلى أي مدى أو هل وجدوا أي تعاون من الجهات والسلطات وبالذات الأمنية وغيرها في إنهم ينتجوا شيء يعكس وجه السودان المشرق، أم واجهتهم عقبات، وما هي تلك العقبات يعني حتى توثق هذه الأشياء للأجيال القادمة؟ سؤال صغير آخر، المسامة بوري وهي من القرى الأقرب للتمدن وجميلة، وكرمكول الممعنة الموغلة فيه أو متجذرة في الغروية حوالي 75 كيلومتر. ليه أخذوا بعض الصور من نوري؟ يا ريت نعرف بس الجزئية دي يعني. شكرا لكم مرة ثانية، وننحني لهذا العمل العظيم. شكرا. Thank you Hashim. Thank you Mamdouh.
Hashim, Mamdouh, you can translate before to Hashim so that he's on board.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you so much, Dr. Yasin, for the insightful questions. We appreciate you very much. So Hashim, he asked a two-part question. The first one was what were some of the challenges that we faced from national security there, this being the film being produced at the height of the previous regime. What were some of the challenges that we faced? His second question was why your opinions on why you chose the locations that you chose,
Right.
Nori and whatnot. I think other than Karmakol, which is the main region that he's from, but we chose to kind of go towards Nori and Marawi and whatnot.
Yeah, so I think I can talk about the location choices. You know, we definitely had a lot of issues with national security, but I'll let Mamdour talk about that in more detail. As far as the locations, we ended up choosing Nuri, Sagai, right? And Dagawet. So there were some practical considerations when choosing these locations. We actually, we knew somebody in Khartoum that had a contact in Nuri. And this contact ended up being pretty much our production, one of two production coordinators in Nuri, along with a gentleman in Sagai. So it was particularly for those practical considerations. We knew people in these towns. And so these towns also offered, they were just beautiful to look at. Nuri specifically, with the amount of palm trees that it has. And also Sagai in terms of some of the architecture of some of the dwellings in the village. Okay, so it was both practical considerations. We knew people in these towns. We didn't know anybody in Karmakol, unfortunately. And also just the imagery that we captured from these towns, from Marawi, from Nuri, from Sagai. We found a lot of great locations that would suit the screenplay well. We knew that, you know, there may be some issue with it not being in Karmakol down the line, but we felt that because it was in that same region, that, and because it was sort of a mythical village, what Hamid is a mythical village, I think we had some room to maneuver in terms of how to, you know, where to film and what locations to film. So yeah, it was practical, and it was also just for the purpose of the visuals also, those locations. Mamdour, do you want to talk a little bit about our experience, our not so good experience with national security?
Yeah, so there was our experiences there were, you know, there was a balance between the challenges and between the support. Okay, so the main challenge that we had from making this film at that particular time was obtaining the permits to shoot, to film, the filming permits. That was probably one of the most challenging efforts that we had to make. There was just a lot of delays, I would say, delay after delay after delay in terms of obtaining the proper permits that we had to get. You know, there's a lot of details also with that, but mainly it was that was the main thing. So the process was as follows. So the first thing was you had to get the screenplay confirmed by the Ministry of Culture. Okay, so they have like a committee that reads the screenplay, and then they, you know, biduka khitab, they give you like an abstract that you take to the Ministry of Information and Media. And then there's an office which is called the Office of External Affairs, or External Media. External Media, I think, was the name of the office. So, which is in the Ministry of Information and Media. So first is the Ministry of Culture, and then it's the Ministry of Information and Media. And then, you know, the Ministry of Culture was okay. I mean, there was a little bit of resistance. There was a lot of questions, but you know, it was okay. I mean, you know, when you read the screenplay, it's kind of a nice screenplay, you know, there's nothing too crazy in it, you know, عصافير تغرد والنيل والنخيل وحاجات كده ظريفة جدا. But there was nothing really that was too compromising. So that was okay. For some reason, and I think it may have been because Hashim had an American passport at the time. So because he was an American and just strictly had an American passport, I think there was a lot of skepticism. And then the story being a Tayyip Saleh, which was, he was kind of known for his political views. So in terms of that time, the context of which that time was that we were making the film, there was a little bit of resistance in terms of obtaining that. The resistance was mainly just lack of communication, really. It was just that it was really tough because it was really hard to communicate with them and to get answers in a timely manner. So that was really difficult, just kind of dealing in that regard. But however, on the other hand, there were people in the government sector as well that were very helpful and very supportive, and that really were very helpful in terms of helping us to get what we need to get, and to give us to send us to the right people, you know, you needed to know the right people, or you needed to know people that knew people that were the right people in order for this thing to actually happen. So there were some very helpful people in the government sector as well that, you know, took us to the right people that were able to make things happen for us on the inside. But for us, just coming, me and Hashim, trying to make a film and trying to obtain security permits and filming permits to go shoot, that was tough. That was really tough. We needed to really find the right people that were going to help us. But, you know, again, there was a balance. There was a lot of people that really helped as well. And, you know, they know who they are. So we salute you.
Thank you for answering here, Mamdouh. So just for the sake of time, because we have less than 20 minutes left, if the question can be like to the point as well as the answers as well, so that we can accommodate as many people as we can. Magdi? We can go to Jamal Umar.
Sorry. Assalamu alaikum, Ya Hanna. First, congratulations for the great accomplishment. My question is very direct. I noticed that since the story is Sudanese and the area in which you capture the images is also in Sudan, during your captures for the movies before the production, just for the sake of attracting contributions and so, you didn't use Sudanese music, you used kind of Western. And in the movie itself, I know that that area is actually used tambour for music. I was expecting to hear music from the area itself, which is very old, you know, tambour musical instruments is very old. But you decided to use music using flute and lute. If they are a true reason for that, or this is what was available for you. I think that's my question. Thanks for your contributions.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's actually a very valid question. So early on in the project, while we were still getting our team together, Mamdouh and I had a mutual friend who recommended a local musician in LA, African-American musician named Dexter Story. Now, Dexter Story is an American, he's an African-American, mostly has a jazz background, but for the last 5 to 10 years, he's been consumed with East African music, specifically Ethiopian, Eritrean, and Sudanese music. So he was a person we met early on in the project, and he was just very excited about the prospect of working on a Sudanese film and making music for a Sudanese film. And we had listened to his previous work, and he was a great artist in his own right. Now, in terms of the regional specificity, the tambour and whatnot, I felt like the actual story itself and the emotional journey that I wanted to kind of convey to the audience, I think there is a way to do it with the tambour, but I initially fell in love with the feeling that the flute and the violin gave me in terms of the kind of feel, the nostalgic feel that I was going for with the film. And initially there was a tambour in the film. When Masoud is singing, we actually tried to do a few takes where he's playing the tambour. Unfortunately, we didn't practice enough with him beforehand, so we had to throw out the tambour at that moment. And so I was kind of sad to lose that, because that kind of offered that regional specificity to the region, that tambour. But overall, in terms of the score, I liked the sound of the flute and the violin in terms of the feeling that it gave you as an audience as you're listening to it and as you're going on this journey. And I was also listening to a lot of Hafiz Abdurrahman, I think is his name. You know, classic Sudanese composer, uses a lot of violins and flutes. And I just like that tone and that feeling that it gave me. And I thought it would lend itself well to the picture. But I was kind of sad that we didn't get to use tambour at any point. There was a moment where we intended to use it, but unfortunately it just didn't work because we hadn't practiced with the actor enough with that. So that was the reason behind me communicating that to Dexter. And I also gave Dexter a bunch of Hafiz Abdurrahman's music too. And so he was very influenced by that.
So we have 6 people actually waiting here to ask questions. What I'm going to do, I'm going to open 3 opportunities for them in a row, so that we can have all of their questions condensed, and then we can answer all of them together, and then we move to the other 3, since we have only 18 minutes left. So while I appreciate everybody energy and everything, but I also want to make sure that we cover as many people as we can. عصام الدين عبد الرحيم بس سمحت.
Thank you very much. شكرا جزيلا باشمهندس محمد شمو. عصام مرغني من جنوب كاليفورنيا. حقيقة أنا سعيد جدا وأشكرك شكر جزيل والإخوة بالجاليه من شمال كاليفورنيا في يعني إقامة هذه التظاهرة الجميلة بالنسبة لهؤلاء الأخوين المبدعين. أول حاجة أنا عايز يعني أقول بعض الأشياء في حقهم، بعدين عايز أقترح وأسأل سؤال. يعني نشكرهم شكر جزيل جدا جدا. We thank them very much for this big innovation for Sudanese film history. وأيضا يعني نتمنى أنه مجهودات الشباب الناس يعني بعدين ودوها لقدام. في مبدعين كتار جدا هنا في أمريكا، وأنا بفتكر أنه حان الأوان أنه بالنسبة يعني سعادة السفير معنا أنه مكتب السفارة سواء كان بطريقة خاصة مع الإخوة بالجاليات أو بعض الإخوة أمثال باشمهندس محمد شمو، أنهم أقترح أنكم تعملوا جسم أو ما أعرف أسميها منظمة، المهم جهة يعني إذا البلاتفورم ده يحصر المبدعين السودانيين ويحاول يجمعوا فاندنج عشان يقدموا لهم فرصة أنهم يبدعوا. أول حاجة الكلام الإمكانيات اللي بيتكلموا عنها دي قروش بسيطة جدا، يعني كان ممكن الناس تريز أضعافها هنا في البلد دي واحدة. الحاجة الثانية كلنا نعلم أهمية دور السينما والإعلام في إظهار الدول ومبدعيها وإبداعها يعني، والمثال كبير جدا جنبنا دولة مصر عرفت بالسينما أكثر شيء. فحقه الناس يفكروا في بلاتفورم زي ده. ومثال الثاني عايز اضرب يعني غير الاخوه ديل، في برضه اخونا الدكتور مجدي هنا عنده ولد برضه من يعني ممثلين في هوليوود هنا في لوس انجلوس. عندنا اخونا الدكتور السفير الفاتح ابراهيم حمد، ولده باس او عباس، معروف يعني زول طبعا يعني فيري فيموس فوكاليست بتاع الراب ميوزك، وده السوداني يعني، وقاعد هنا وما في زول حتى فكر يعني يعمل اي حاجه. ومعه اخوه محمد برضه زول مشهور جدا بتاع دي جي. ودي امثله بسيطه. فانا بفتكر انه تعملوا مبادره. انا زول جديد في البلد دي لسه بحاول اتعلم، لكن الاخوه امثال محمد شمو عملوا مبادره يعني سواء كان مكتب او جهه خاصه تحصر الناس ديل وتبدا في جمع فندنج عشان يقدموا لهم مساعده عشان يبرزوا اسم السودان. ده الشيء اللي انا عايز اقوله، والسفير موجود. الحاجه الثانيه اللي عايز
يا ريت لو تختصر يا استاذ عصام عشان
ايوه
الوقت ضيق
سؤال
يعني.
للاخوه ديل، what is their next plan؟ يعني البلان بتاعهم النكست شنو بالنسبه دي الاشياء اللي انا عايز اقولها. شكرا جزيلا، وانا سعيد انه احضر هذه التظاهره الجميله يعني.
شكرا لك يا عصام. هنا بابا لو سمحت تفضلي.
السلام عليكم. I won't take a lot of time. Just basically شكرا جزيلا لكم ممدوح هاشم. Amazing work. And as the credits were rolling يعني شفنا أسامي تانية، إسراء الكوغلي والسنوسي آدم, who by the way did his journalism masters here in Berkeley at UC Berkeley. التحية لهم، تحية لطلال عفيفي, all of them part of your team. My question is, we've been following, you know, the vibrant, growing community of Sudanese filmmakers with a lot of excitement. What gives you optimism about the future of filmmaking in Sudan? How will we grow more filmmakers? And part of that is, you know, kind of growing the idea that film is important and that arts are important to invest in. When you were in Sudan, what gave you optimism that that can happen? Again, shukran jazilan, and all the luck.
حسين لو سمحت. حسين ممكن تسأل سؤالك. علي حسين سوري.
السلام عليكم. شكرا جزيلا للأبناء ممدوح وهاشم على هذا العمل الرائع. سؤال بسيط اللي هو يعني في بداية رحلتكم اللي بدأ العمل ووصولكم للمنطقة محل التصوير، هل واجهتكم أو هل لمستم أي يعني ممانعة أو ريزيستنس من الناس اللوكال في أنه تشوت ذا فيلم ده، مع الاعتبار في أنه المجتمعات القروية المقفولة دائما بيكون عندها عادات وتقاليد، ولما نجي شخص من برا ويصور وعلى النطاق أنه حينتشر على نطاق العالم مثل الفيلم وكده، هل لمستم أي ممانعة من المواطنين المحليين؟ والجزء الثاني من السؤال اللي هو في وجودكم هناك هل حاولتم أنه يعني تخلقوا علاقات مع الناس اللي انفولف في صناعة السينما في السودان ولا لا؟ شكرا جزيلا.
So, Mamdouh, can you translate a couple of these questions and summarize them to Hashim so that you guys can start answering, please?
Yes, definitely. Okay. So, Ustaz Assam, thank you very much for your question. He's asking, first of all, Hashim, he is proposing a platform for filmmakers and artists to connect Sudanese filmmakers and artists here, and to, you know, have some sort of like an official platform to get the support of the Sudanese community here in the United States and from abroad as well. And he's also asking what's next for us in terms of what we're thinking about making next. Okay. So I guess we can just start, we can go one by one and just answer these. So yeah, why don't you go ahead? What's next for you, Hashim?
Hopefully, so I'm here in Fresno. Again, I'm working on local, just videography, like, commercial productions. But on the side, I'm trying to develop, I want to do a short next year, 2021. And also I want to start writing a feature film script. I'm still developing what these ideas are. But it's going to be, it's going to be an American story, but dealing with characters who maybe are first generation, either Mexican American, Sudanese American, or Arab American. And they're going to be crime stories. I've always been attracted to, I wanted to do something completely different from حفنه. So that's what I'm looking at doing next. I do want to return to Sudan at some point and make a feature film. I think that my experience on حفنه taught me that knowing Arabic fluently definitely helps when working with actors. And so that alongside with me getting a Sudanese passport, which I have to probably do on my next visit, because having a Sudanese passport also allows you to be eligible for funding from like Doha Film Institute or the Arab Fund for Arts and Culture in Beirut. So, I do want to continue to make movies in Sudan, but I want to first, improve my Arabic and then also get a Sudanese passport to just avoid all the issues associated with that, not having one. In terms of a platform, yeah. We don't, as far as Sudanese Americans who are doing something similar, we don't know, aside from Mamdouh and maybe one or two others, actually, no, there are a few, but in where we grew up, Southern California, Northern California, we don't know that many. And so it would be great to have an organization or group like that. Absolutely.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. For me, I'm also interested in the Sudanese American experience, which is my personal experience. Like I said, I was born in Sudan. I grew up in Los Angeles. And so, just growing up, there was a lot of identity, challenges and just a lot of self-discovery going on with having grown up here. So those are themes that I would like to explore. Maybe the Sudanese American experience, the Sudanese people in America, especially now. There's a lot of new generations that are coming up here, Sudanese that are growing up here, and so I'm interested in the clash of the generations, the generation gaps, the generation clashes is topics I think that are very relevant right now that are worth exploring. I also want to go back and explore opportunities in Sudan more, hopefully. And Sudan has a bright future when it comes to film. So it's a good thing going on over there right now. So we're very excited about it. Hana, I believe Hana, asked, how will Sudan filmmaking in Sudan grow? How do we think that it's going to grow in Sudan? I'll tell you something. I can start by saying that there are already people there that are very passionate about storytelling in Sudan and filmmaking in Sudan. When we went, I was very excited. I was very happy. I was really blown away by the amount of passionate people and filmmakers that are out there working really hard to create an industry. So when you're talking about creating an industry in Sudan, a film industry there's a lot of different things involved in a film industry. So you have, first of all, the help that's coming from the government sector, right? There's already, I think, a cinema office in the government sector, but the government has to play its role, of course, okay? And then also there's a lot of, and then you're talking about production companies and all kinds of art houses and independent people, and there's a lot of things going on where you're talking about an industry, right? So it's challenging times right now, but there are filmmakers and they are making films despite all of the challenges. You know, we are just one of those people, and we wanted to do our part. But you know, just really fast, because I think this is a really important point. When you study film history and film history, all of the there's been a lot of film movements that have popped up all over the world. Okay, in Europe, in India, in Asia, okay, in the United States, there's been a lot of film movements that have happened. Now, the one pattern and the common thread that all of these film movements have is that they came about at a time of national tragedy. They came about and flourished at a time of challenging social and political climates. That's been the pattern with film movements. Right now, there has been a plethora of amazing Sudanese storytelling coming out of Sudan during this time. And it's just, that's history. That's how it goes. And that's what's happening now. You know, all the way, there's, you know, I can mention the filmmakers and you guys know the movies. Hadith an al-Ashjar, you know, Nair Cook, Kesha Satamut fil Ashrin, Khartoum Offside, the list goes on. And there's some in production as we speak, you know, so the future is, the storytelling is there, and there's a plethora of storytelling, and this is a ripe time for that to happen because, you know, there's so much storytelling. So the future is going to be great for Sudan. There's already Sudan Film Factory, there's the Association of Sudanese Filmmakers, they're already there, and I think they're doing a great job. We just need to find out who these people are and help them and guide them and be their support. Everyone needs to play their role and their part in it. Ustaz Al Hussein asks, were there any villagers that were opposed to us filming there? And then also, did you connect with Sudan filmmakers? I think we answered that question in terms of connecting with the Sudanese filmmaking community there. There's a very bright and uplifting, motivated Sudanese filmmaking community in Sudan and outside of Sudan. There's no question about it. In terms of the villagers, and Hash, I'll let you jump into that too, but there weren't any local villagers that were opposed to us shooting, you know?
No, not really. I mean, we heard.
Yes, you know, sorry, but there were some that wanted money.
Yeah. Yeah, you had to pay off a
There were
few.
some that just wanted money just because we were there, you know, but there weren't any that wanted us out or that gave us any serious problems. There were actually very welcoming, very hospitable, and very nice. And we had some really, really good experiences with some of the local villagers there. Ash, if you want to add.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that there were a few occasions in which, this is before we had the official permit, in which there were some people associated with the shurta, the local national security state, among the villagers that would maybe tell them our whereabouts or tell them what we were doing. And that got, you know, the local national security office got wind of that, and you know, they told us that we didn't have the right permit. So I think there may have been maybe a few villagers that were maybe, I mean, I guess you would call them spies, but for the most part, it was a very positive experience. But you know, we did run into some issues with national security, as I mentioned, but we were able to solve them. So yeah, no major issues with the villagers. Yeah.
So I will give an opportunity through iPhone. I think there's an iPhone. There's no name on it. If you can unmute yourself and ask your question. And then I will give an opportunity to Salah al-Nasri as well. iPhone.
You mean me?
Yes,
My
yes,
iPhone or?
Yeah.
طيب تحية شكر وإجلال وحب كثير، حب كبير لكم
يا محمد وهاشم. وانا حقيقه سؤالي كتبته، لكن حابب اقول كلمه قالها استاذنا الجميل محمد، يعني looking for the right people. You are the people. You are the whole people, and you are the right people, and you are the generation who made it, and you can make a lot. And we do love you, and we do believe in you.
Thank you.
You will achieve it, and you will make it. You made it already, and you are able and capable to do a lot, much more. Because Sudan is just like a very big garden with a lot of different colors, different roses, different smells, and different beauty. Had been waiting all the way long for you guys, you prophets, to come to show this beauty to the whole planet.
Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Blessings be upon you, and we are all نحن معاكم لآخر السكة all the way along. And we will pray for you guys. Love you.
شكرا جزيلا.
عفوا كثير.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
دكتور صلاح النصري آخر تعليق.
شكرا جزيلا شمو، وشكرا لجاليتكم على استضافة الفعالية الثقافية دي، وcongrats to هاشم and ممدوح. You're doing a very beautiful job, and the cinema industry in Sudan is flourishing now after 40 years, you know, of this regime. You know, there was cinema industry in Sudan, and it's being cut off. شكرا جزيلا لكم. Congratulations to you all. وهذه ظاهرة ثقافية، وممكن بالعربي شوية، يعني السفارة السودانية الجفرمنت ممكن تتدخل، لأنه زمان كان في مؤسسة الدولة للسينما وحاجات زي دي. And my last comment, هاشم ممدوح, would you repeat this again? Thank you very much, and congratulations.
Hey, can I jump in real fast?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hashim, so yes, thank you, Salah al-Nasri. Thank you, Salah, for your very nice comments. And you asked if we would repeat this again. You know, when Hashim first came to me with this idea, right? So I had been thinking about, you know, I want to do storytelling in the MENA region, Middle East, North Africa. And there's so many great untold stories. And I'm thinking about, you know, wanting to go there and do something. But sometimes you get so caught up in life, you know, that it's hard to really start a big project like this. So me and Hashim, actually, we took a trip to the Gulf region, in the Doha, and to Abu Dhabi and Dubai and to Sudan, to go and explore the opportunities and things like that. So when we came back, you know, Hashim called me one day and he said, you know, hey, he said, you know what, I want to make a Sudanese film. You know, and I was really busy at the time, and I was caught up with life, and I said, you know what, man, I don't know what time it is, man, and, you know, great, man, why don't you just go and figure it out? Thank you very much. So I don't hear from Hashim for about 3 months, you know, and then one day he calls me out of the blue and he says, hey, man, I think I know what story I want to do. And I'm like, oh my God, here he is again. I'm so busy with life and things. And he said, look, I want to make Tayyib Saleh's حفنه Tamur, and I want to shoot it في الشمالية, and I want you to be the producer. So I was thinking, oh my goodness, man, this is the craziest idea I've ever heard, right? I didn't really tell him this, but I was thinking, I think Hashim has gone a little crazy. You know, this is the wildest idea I've ever heard recently. And what I told him, my response was, brilliant. That's a brilliant idea, and I'm down for it. And let's do it, man. Let's do it. So to answer your question, yes, yes, we'll do it again. We'll do it again, and we'll do it again after that. And this is what we do. We're storytellers, and as storytellers, we're, you know, I always like to say we're in the business of selling hope and inspiration. So we have a tremendous responsibility, all of the storytellers, we have a tremendous responsibility to tell the stories that have a purpose, that are going to have an influence and a change in the human in the human life, you know. So we, we're ready for it, and this was a great experience, and we're looking forward to bigger and better things, inshallah.
Okay, thank you. There are a couple of people who actually just raised their hand. So this would be my last two people, because I was hoping to stop right now, 3 p.m. Pacific, but I will give them an opportunity. Mahmoud.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Mahmoud, جاليه السودانيه الامريكيه جنوب فلوريدا. You know, this is probably one of the most interesting and beautiful nadwa I attended recently. Thank you for everything that you guys done. Just a couple of suggestions, actually. Now that السفارة السودانية بالتضامن مع الجاليات والمنظمات السودانية, including your Jallie as well, Muhammad, shukran. I mean, now we have a platform. I mean, when you you mentioned on your speech that it cost about $8,000. I mean, I think if you guys are planning future films, this might be a great platform. I mean, we would love to support something like this. Put it out there, ask for your help, you know, ask for the help. And I'm sure there will be a lot of people who will be more than happy to donate towards this great work of yours. I mean, I wish you the best. You made us proud. My hat's off to both of you and anybody who participated in this film. And I hope to see more of you guys in the future. Good luck, good luck, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
في واحد تلفون Galaxy S10. They don't have a name associated with them. This would be our last comment or question. So I'm asking you to unmute.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. سام عبد المنعم مصطفى. I would like to join everyone on this forum to add my congratulations to Hashim and Mamdouh for this impressive success. Wishing you continued success, inshallah, and continued occasions where you make your parents and all of us proud. And quickly take the opportunity to congratulate and salute my dear brother Abdul Saleh and our dear sister Balghis Al Amin on this having, you know, given us such an impressive young man. And you are a family who have accustomed us to, you know, be star makers families. You know, we also have Mamdouh's cousin Sarah, who has made us very proud. And also to salute Saadat al-Safir and to wish everyone happy New Year, and تحيات برضو لأهلنا في السودان ونهنيهم بقدوم عيد الاستقلال. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وشكرا على الفرصة. And thank you, Brother Shumu, for your continued support of the community through these very vital forums. We wish to see this continue, inshallah.
So, Hashim and Mamdouh, would you like to share a last word before we?
Yeah, I'll start, and then if you want to finish, Hash.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. You know, I think some people that we need to mention also are the actors. And I just want to mention them briefly and thank them. They are Abdul Hakim Al-Tahir, right? And which he was a big part of this project, and he really did a wonderful job, and he was very patient with us the whole time. And we wish him all the success. And I hope that people in Sudan, they will get a chance for him to appear maybe on TV or in interviews, so he can talk about his experience also as one of the lead actors. So thank you very much, Abdul Hakim Al-Tahir. Also, Ustaz Abdullah Jaknoun. Okay, he plays Masoud. So Abdul Hakim Al-Tahir is the grandfather, right? Abdullah Jaknoun plays Masoud. And he also did a wonderful job, very patient all throughout, a lot of rehearsal time. And we just want to send him our gratitude for being a part of this project with us. And also the boy, Diab Abdel Nasser Diab. Okay, the little young shining star. He's going to be a shining star. I think maybe where they live is very deep in Durman. So he's very hard to get a hold of. But we really hope that people in Sudan will give them an opportunity for them to show up and to show themselves and to talk about their experience with the film as well. So hats off and thank you to our cast and to the crew as well. And thank you again for everyone attending, the Honorable Ambassador Nuruddin Asati, just with us the whole time here. Thank you for listening and being with us. Thank you, Bashmahandis Muhammad Shummu, for conducting this with us. She's not here with us, but she also played a big role in this, which is Shahinaz. So we want to thank her as well for being one of the organizers here. And we want to thank Ustaz Saadiya for her kind words. Thank you to the Sudanese Association of North America for giving us this platform. And thank you for everyone that attended. We had a great time, and I hope this will be of value to the Sudanese community and to all the international Sudanese community as well, and to everyone. Thank you.
Couldn't have said it better, Mamdur. So yeah, thank you all for this opportunity, and thank you for celebrating this film. There are so many people that are behind this, and of course our hats off to them. And we hope to be continuing this process of making films and celebrating Sudanese storytelling and Sudanese culture. There's it's a fertile land with a lot of storytelling potential. So we look forward to coming back with another film, inshallah. Thank you guys.
الشكر للجميع. يعني أريد أن أشكر المنتج والمخرج لأدائهم الرائع ولفهمهم العميق ولفهمهم لرسالتهم العميقة، وهي بناء الأمل. ونحن الآن بنعيد صناعة دولة وبناء دولة، أي شخص فينا عنده دور. thank you to everybody، وشكرا لسعادة السفير لتشريفه لهذه المناسبة ولحضوره لحد اللحظة الأخيرة. نحن كلنا ما حنقول السفارة تعمل والسفارة تسوي، كلنا we are all in this together, building hope for our country, assisting our people, encouraging young people like you who have mission and vision, who have an opportunity to express us as a culture. We need to be very, very proud of ourselves so that we can build our new founded country. And this is just part of that. I cannot express myself or just tell you how much proud I am actually today. الشكر لكم، شكرا عبد المنعم، هذا الشبل منك، وشكرا لهاشم، وشكرا للمرحوم والده انه انتجينا ولد بهذه الكواليتي. شكرا للجميع. السلام عليكم.
شكرا. Thank you. Bye bye.